manufacturing domain. Then we have organizations like Welch's and Heineken, which are in consumer packaged goods. We have organizations in healthcare industries like Merck, Teva, of course, II-VI. We also have customers in high-tech industry like Apple, Cisco, Qualcomm, etc. So the bottom line, which I want you all to take from this slide, is that our platform is absolutely industry agnostic. It is vertical agnostic. Any process which you can model in Excel, more or less, you can leverage our technology, to build applications on. Now, these are some of our global partners. For example, we have McKinsey Consulting as our partner. We also have partnership with Accenture and other service providers like Infosys, Wipro, etc. Incidentally, Gartner also listed Boardwalktech as one of the cool technology vendors in its vendor list of 2015. Now, having worked in this domain for almost more than a decade now, and having worked with many of the Fortune 500,000 companies who are leaders in their respective industries and vertical, what we see that even though these organizations have implemented state-of-the-art ERP or CRM applications, there are still a plethora of Excel-based processes which are proliferating the different corners of the enterprise. And we believe that there is a reason why even companies who are leading edge companies in their vertical or industries still use many of these Excel-based processes. So the bottom line which we see based on our experience is that Excel continues to be the lingua franca for business. However, there is a dire need within these organizations where they need to manage their Excel data and the ability to lead or integrate these Excel-based templates with their enterprise information system. Based on our experience, what we have seen is that in absence of a technology like Boardwalk, typically these Excel-based processes, lack a lot of enterprise quality checks and balances, which lead to what we call the Excel chaos. And what I'm listing here in my slide kind of lists the top three, drivers of this Excel chaos. One is what we call the Excel latency, which is where, because of a lot of manual nature of copying, pasting of data or extracting of information, transforming this information in your Excel spreadsheet process leads to a lag in your process. Second part is because these Excel-based spreadsheet processes are not connected to your enterprise information system. Again, the information in this Excel system starts becoming extremely dated. And in absence of a technology like Boardwalk, where your Excel spreadsheet is not connected to some kind of a relational database, many times the user end up having a lot of records in their Excel spreadsheet, which leads to what we call the large and slow Excel workbook. And this slide here kind of pictorially captures some of the challenges which we have seen in these manual Excel-based processes. For example, if you look at the x-axis here, I have captured certain parameters like number of people who are participating in these Excel-based processes or number of regions, iterations. You can even add aspects like the complexity of business logic, etc. And on my y-axis, you have factors like time, effort, and resources required to manage them. So as you can see, as these parameters starts to increase, the coordination effort required in managing these Excel-based processes start to increase exponentially. The process lag, which I was talking about, is also very heavily correlated with these aspects, and they also starts to increase quite rapidly. While the data accuracy, where every time you need to pull your information from different application or different workbook, copy it into your Excel-based process, that starts to decay quite rapidly, and so does the efficacy of the decision making many times, which is based on these Excel-based processes. Now, we believe that this is where Boardwalk, with its patented technology, is able to help these organizations. Boardwalk allows what we call you to keep the best of Excel while doing away those aspects of Excel which lead to those Excel chaos, which I'm showing here on my right. So if you look at the table here, and what I'm showing here on my left are aspects of Excel which people like and love. For example, the Excel user interface. Most of the user in any organization is very well familiar and well versed with the interface of Excel. Excel has an extremely proven and powerful and robust calculation engine. Many times in Boardwalk, we leverage the Excel's calculation engine to capture a lot of your business logic. And obviously, Excel has this ability to work with large quantum of data. Especially if you are working on some web form kind of an application. Typically, you need to even to enter that amount of information, you need to jump through multiple web forms just to enter that information. Obviously, Excel provides you with great flexibility with respect to, you can add column, remove column, insert rows, etc. So all these aspects of Excel which people like and love, we in Boardwalk allow you to keep, while those aspects of Excel which leads to Excel chaos, we do away with. For example, once you start using and leveraging our technology, and we will show it to you a little later in our demonstration as well as in our presentation, that you no longer need to keep multiple versions of the file. We have seen in our experience, in absence of a technology like Boardwalk, within a quarter, process owners accumulating more than 30, 40 different versions of file, and you can very easily imagine, without knowing what has changed from one file to another, how difficult it is. It is like searching for a black cat in a dark room where you don't know whether the cat exists or not. And of course, Boardwalk eliminates the needs to manually email the file or even do check-in, check-out of file. Many times we have seen organizations leveraging some kind of document management system like SharePoint or Documentum. But again, these kind of serializes the process, and Boardwalk allows concurrent editing of these files. And we also do away with a lot of your error-prone formulas, etc., which is no longer needed once you start using our product. And obviously, we are able to integrate with your different information system like your ERP systems, CRM systems, etc., so that your Excel becomes connected to your enterprise information backbone. Now, Boardwalk primarily has two offerings. What we will be covering today is the Boardwalk application engine. However, we have another product called the Boardwalk Sheets, which we will not be diving into too much detail. But again, the difference between the Boardwalk Sheet and the Boardwalk application engine will become a little clear as I proceed a little later in my presentation. So let me first quickly cover what exactly is an Boardwalk application engine and how it works. So what I'm showing here on my right is a sample Boardwalk template, which I'm going to call the sales rep template. And on my left, I'm showing another template, which I'm going to call the sales manager template. Now, both these templates in Boardwalk is connected to a database in the backend. Now, this can be either hosted behind your organization's firewall, or it could be hosted in a cloud. Our platform is absolutely agnostic to the mode of implementation. And as I was mentioning, once you have a relational database in the backend, you can have millions of records which are existing in the database, and you need not carry these records permanently in your Excel spreadsheet. You can download these dynamically. We have multiple ways of slicing and dicing the information. For example, if you look at the sales rep template, you see that all the records which are coming in the sales rep template belong to rep 1. However, in the sales manager template, not only rep 1 records are there, but other reps, for example, rep 2, 3, and 4, which are reporting to this particular manager, those records are also present. And there could be other attributes. For example, you can filter the information further by region. You can say, hey, Heather can see only West Coast data, while Justin can see the North America data, and Vivek can see EMEA data. So there are multiple ways you can slice and dice this information and present it to the end user, depending on what form or role that user is playing. Now, that adds not only to the efficiency of the system, it also bakes in a lot of security right at the database level, because you are not exposing those record sets which the users need not see. In addition to that, you also see that there are certain columns which have been grayed out. These columns can become read-only for one user, it can become editable for another user, and it can be totally absent from a third user template, provided he or she does not need to see that data. Now, one of the important differentiators between Boardwalk and other web-based application is that Boardwalk works on this paradigm of what we call submit and refresh. So once you have downloaded the template, you can save it like a normal Excel file, and you can work in totally offline mode. So you need not be connected to the internet. For example, as the sales rep is changing his or her forecast numbers or the pricing numbers, they can do their impact analysis, see how the forecast change impacts their plan versus actual, or how their pricing information change impacting their total revenue. And once they are comfortable with the changes which they have done, at that point in time, they hit the submit button. And once they hit the submit button, then the changes which they have done gets compressed and flows over the network to the Boardwalk database. Now, another key differentiators between Boardwalk and others is that Boardwalk is a cell version database. And so there could be 20,000 cells in your template, but if you have just edited 20 cells, then these 20 cells get updated over the network and come to the Boardwalk database. And once other users refresh their template, they can see the changes being done by other users. Right now, I'm showing the collaboration happening between just 2 users, but you can very easily now imagine hundreds of users sitting across the globe as they are updating their template and they are, editing their information. They hit the submit button or the refresh button, and they seamlessly see the changes coming into their template. In addition to pulling the data from the end user template, we can also pull the information from any of your ERP CRM system, as I was mentioning. For example, it is quite possible that in this particular template, the opportunity details is coming in from Salesforce, while the item related information is coming in from some of your item master tables in ERP, and the pricing information is coming in from Hyperion. And all that is rendered in the end user template in the form and the format in which it is desired by the end user. So moving on, as I was mentioning, Boardwalk is a self-version database, and that is one of our key differentiators. So say, for example, any updates which you do on your cell, we keep a complete audit trail. For example, what I'm showing here is the value of a specific cell as it has evolved over a period of time. Now, not only do we capture the value, we also capture who updated that information. For example, you see that the first update happened by the admin, while the subsequent updates were done by rep 1. We also keep a complete audit trail with respect to date and timestamp, and also any transaction comment which would have entered by the user when he or she updated this particular information. And just like we have the cell history feature, we also have a row history feature where you can update any record and see the history of that record or that entire sheet, which we call the table history. Now, what it allows you to do is not only it provides you with a complete audit trail, it helps you in compliance. You can also do any kind of trend analysis, waterfall modeling, etc., where you can see, week over week, month over month, quarter over quarter, how the information has, evolved over a period of time. Now, let me quickly cover the second product which we have, which is the Boardwalk sheet. In certain aspects, it is it has many of the features and the functionalities of Boardwalk application engine. For example, Boardwalk sheet allows you to again do submit refresh. It has an added feature of chat, where just like your Yahoo Messenger, we provide you with this feature where you can within the workbook chat with the participant of the process. You can work in an offline mode. There is a sheet level access control. It is not at the row and column level, which is typically available in your Boardwalk application engine. All the history features are available, cell history, row history. There is a transaction control with every transaction having its own transaction ID. You can enter comments, etc., and you can download or update the information on demand. And I will cover a little bit more, perhaps time permitting, in the second half of my presentation. Now with this, let me change track a little and hand over the session to Justin for him to explain to you how 2.6 leverage our application engine and what were some of the benefits which accrued to them once they started using our product. So it's over to you, Justin, now.
Thank you, Vivek, and thanks to everyone for joining today. Again, my name is Justin Schmeida here at 2.6, and while Vivek showed you the basics of Boardwalk, using the tool, setting up the tool, we're going to show you a demo here in a moment. I wanted to focus a little more on our customizations in using the tool, how we used Boardwalktech to meet some of our needs around the globe. Just some background on 2.6. It is 2.6, not IIBI. We're a global leader in engineered materials and optoelectronic components, laser, fiber optic components, cutting heads, etc. We were founded and headquartered here in Saxonburg, Pennsylvania, back in 1971. Been growing quite a bit. Just crossed 8,000 employees around the globe. Dozen regional division office headquarters, as well as dozens and dozens of facilities and factories. Just crossed 740 million annual IIBI as the NASDAQ. But the partnership between 2.6 and Boardwalktech, how did that come about? Where did this get started? We got started, this is our third year together that we've been working, and the need arose whenever we brought in Laser Enterprise and Network Solutions, or the OCG group. We needed a forecasting tool to cover those two divisions, two separate divisions, around the globe. Get the sales associates in there with the sales managers and the product managers and forecast for those divisions. Now the big challenge for this was, again, 2 separate divisions underneath the laser enterprise, or excuse me, the laser solutions and photonics business segments around the globe, global access. We've got 35 different users split between those 2 divisions. Again, global, using the Boardwalktech app engine. And these are office and remote users. Like Vivek was saying, you don't have to be sitting at your desk. You can be remote, you can be offline, you can be in airport mode, airplane mode, and still get your work done in that spreadsheet format. So giving just a little more background on those guys. LE and OCG, the Laser Enterprise and Optical Communications groups. They're separate divisions, like I was saying, building components for fiber, telecommunication, direct diode lasers, pump lasers, amplifiers, getting communications via lasers around the globe. And these parts and these components can work with each other and work across divisions, and that's why we want to have that visibility across the 2 divisions. So what really boiled it down to going with Boardwalktech? Well, like Vivek was saying, first and foremost, spreadsheet format. Despite what anyone tells you, spreadsheets are not going away anytime soon. It's what everyone is used to. It's what the sales associates are used to, seeing these columns and rows, updating this information. It's used for analysis. Once you get that data in-house, it just makes sense to deal with that data in a spreadsheet format. Second big selling point for us was the global aspect of this, right? We've got users around the globe. Someone in Japan can update that information. It's seen by the users in the UK, over here in the US. As they submit that, we just need to refresh that data, see what they've submitted, adjust our forecast if necessary, and submit our changes as well if you need to relate to their information as well. Back and forth, very quick, very simple. Download and update your information on the go, and then work offline if necessary. If you need to be on the go, if you need to go into that airplane mode, you have that option with Boardwalktech. And then the final selling point, the flexibility. As I want to show you here now, some of the customizations we've done with Boardwalktech just to make it easier for our sales associates to get those numbers in-house, get those around the globe in a timely fashion, in a fashion that we want it to come in to the sales managers. So let's talk about those customizations. Let's talk about those changes that we took above and beyond what Boardwalktech has out of the box. Like I said, Vivek's going to show you some demos here in a moment, but I just wanted to give you some ideas. Start brainstorming on maybe some additional customizations that you might like to use whenever you go with Boardwalktech. Now our customizations really broke down into 2 silos of customization styles, both the manipulation of data as well as the time-sensitive aspect of a forecast and moving between those forecast cycles. So the data portion is broken down in display and updating and information on a singular cell level, and then the time-sensitive information is more on the grander scheme of things as you're moving through cycles and monthly forecast cycles and quarters and such. So let's start down that data silo. So our first primary customization was the display. How do we want to show and represent this information, represent this forecast in the spreadsheet? So what we broke it down, took a fairly robust display per customer part row. So as you see down at the bottom here, over on the left, I've actually got 3 customer part relationships. One customer number representing one part that they're purchasing or hope to purchase in the forecast. And we actually broke that out over on the right into 9 separate rows. So as an administrator, I put in the customer, put in the part information that they're buying for this row, and that translates into the end forecast spreadsheet as 9 separate rows. Now again, because this is in a spreadsheet, we get all the basic functionality of Excel working for us in this forecast. Formulas, for example, you see down at the bottom, the total forecast revenue, that's a total. Right? It's totaling up those values and giving you that forecast value for that corresponding column for that month. Now we also have the relationships between the cells. if you notice the first row over on the right there, that prior month forecast quantity, what we actually wanted to do is give the sales associates a point of reference from the previous cycle, whenever we ended that previous cycle and locked that previous month. Basically what we do is we rotate that forecast quantity, the second row on the right, up into the first row, the prior month forecast. So they know going into this current cycle, that's where I left off. That's where I said coming into January, I had this value. Maybe you deviated from that. Gives them a nice point of reference. And then, of course, because this is a spreadsheet format, you've got the subtotals and totals at the top and bottom of all the columns. As you filter on information, those totals will adjust on the fly. And it doesn't really matter which rows you're showing as long as you want to see the information total at the top based on what you filtered. Another one of the data customizations we did was the filters and customs. Now, of course, filtering, that's standard Excel functionality, right? You choose what to see and what not to see in those columns based on the different filters and the different selections in there. And that functions just fine. Since we're actually basing this off the 9-row architecture, I want to hide all of my certain portfolio, all of my pump lasers, and just bring back the amplifiers. I can do that, and it doesn't impact Excel in any custom fashion. However, we wanted to go above and beyond that and actually show the guys the sorting mechanism and actually sort based on the different tiers or the different regions that they are providing information for. So we gave them that custom sort option over on the right there where I can filter up to 3. I think we chose 3, just a nice odd number there that we could go with. But you can sort on different functionality, ascending, descending, and actually see the information you want to see it while still maintaining that 9-row architecture and that 9-row format. The third and fourth customizations kind of go hand in hand, the updating and refreshing of the data. So the updating from an administrative perspective. Out of the box, we have Boardwalktech. Whenever we submit changes as an admin, right? I add a new customer and part combination. I make some changes to part descriptions, etc. I push that information and submit it from my machine as an administrator out to the servers, and those servers would get updated on a nightly basis, so anybody downloading the data tomorrow would get that information. However, that wasn't good enough for the admins. They wanted to push that information out to the users almost instantaneously in a near real-time fashion. So what we actually gave them was an add and update forecast button, so that as they're updating that information, if they've got a sales associate on the call, and he says, well, no, we need to update this description. It's not providing me enough information for my forecast. I need to get this new customer and part number row in there for me. Can you get it in there now? As the admin goes in, they can add that row, update that information, push it out via the add update forecast. All that sales associate has to do is download that information and see it in their spreadsheet near real time. And speaking of getting that information, I wanted to give them 2 options whenever they're grabbing that data. If you see over there on the right, we've got the little cloud button for the download. Obviously, they can download that spreadsheet information, as Vivek will show you here in a minute in the demo, and get all the rows, get all the columns as they appear on the server right now. However, what about those mobile guys? What about those guys in airplane mode for the past week and a half? Downloading and working on their spreadsheet, but they haven't yet submitted. But they want to get that feedback from the servers before, prior to submitting their information. We've got the option with the refresh. The refresh button will actually grab the updates from the server, pull those down to their spreadsheet without overwriting what they're working on, giving them a chance to adjust and get acclimated with where the current forecast is before submitting their numbers as well. And the final customization we did in the data silo was visibility, right? You can, of course, just sort information and display information to your different users based on ownership, right? I want to see all of Jim's market. I want to see all of the Asia market, etc. Well, we actually want to break that out into multiple columns. And we actually have more here than I've displayed on the screen, such as portfolio, other geographic regions. But bottom line is you can become very I don't want to say complex, but you can get very detailed in what you display, how you display it, and you can control it very simply from an administrative perspective and change that on the fly. I need to add Johnny to another region or to another portfolio or to another business division. I can do that as an administrator very quickly, and just like I showed you with that add update button, I can add and update that information to my sales associates in near real time from my admin template. So those are the data customizations that we did, changing how the data is impacting the users on a row-by-row basis. But now I want to talk to you about the time aspect of these forecast spreadsheets. So the first thing I want to point out is the ERP integration. We've got a data load coming in from our SAP instances. That's right, 2 of them. I've got 2 SAP instances, one in the US, one in China, both feeding into the Boardwalktech spreadsheet. So think about that for a second. I've got 2 separate ERP systems loading into a single point, a single spreadsheet, one point of information. We do that on a weekly basis, right? We're loading that every Monday morning with all those shipments and all those open orders that we still haven't shipped yet right from the ERP system. All I have to do is hit the download or the refresh as a sales associate, and I've got a global perspective of what we've got open, what we've shipped over the past week. Now also on top of that, we do a monthly master load at the beginning, the first of every month, right after we lock the previous month, which I'll talk to you about in a second here. But basically we're locking down those months and saying, okay, from this point, the first, where are we? Where do we stand? We grab that data, again, globally, 2 separate ERP systems pulled into one spreadsheet for all the sales associates, all the sales managers to see, and updated that with a simple download. And the last bullet point I have in here, it's not really what you see, it's what you don't see. What we had was a separate row, a 10th row in our spreadsheet, where we'd actually reference a calculation behind the scenes and actually pull in a negative value of where the sales associate was behind their initial forecast value. We initially put that in there because we wanted our sales associates to have a reference point and basically go off a negative value and see how far behind they might be. Just kind of get them in line with the 2-6 methodology of forecasting. After the acquisitions and after everyone got used to this and this forecasting format, we didn't need it anymore. So we worked with the Boardwalktech support team, we worked with the Sohum team to actually get that out of there, and when we launched our phase 2 version of the spreadsheet last year, end of last year, it was gone. We didn't need it anymore. Just wanted to let you know that the customizations, it can be a work in progress if you need it to. If you need to go back and make those changes, and you want to have as you see down at the bottom, we're loading the bill and the order on hand rows, those yellow rows down at the bottom. If you want to move those around, work with the team, work with Boardwalktech, make those changes, and it's easy to make those adjustments for a future release. And then the final 2 timing changes, the locking of the months and the rolling of the quarters. These kind of go hand in hand. Again, at the end of every month, we want to lock it whenever we've closed down that month. I don't want my users to focus on an open column when they don't need the forecast for December when it's January. So what we actually do is we've created a lock month button as an administrator. Whenever I've decided that previous month is done and closed out, I can hit this lock. I can hit this lock button that will actually close out that month, preventing any further submits from any of the users. It'll clear out all of the open orders because, again, we aren't going to ship it last month if we haven't shipped it by the 31st. And clears out that information, moves that forecast quantity up to the prior month forecast quantity row, and basically preps us for the January forecast cycle. So whenever this happens, a lot of things going on behind the scenes that can all be built in to the Boardwalktech tool, like we were saying. And at the end of every quarter, the beginning of the following quarter, we do a rolling lock. Basically what it is we always want to have 24 months in the future, maximum. So what we do is we roll those quarters at the beginning of every quarter, add on 3 months at the very end, months 21 or 22, 23, and 24 in the future, as well as we only want to keep about 6 months historical data locked in the spreadsheet. So what we actually do is we archive and we drop off months 7, 8, and 9 in the past. And that just gives the users a nice a solid section of where they need to forecast, as well as a little bit of history for them to keep it without getting overwhelming with the number of columns. So those are the customizations, some of the changes, some of the different ideas you can think about with making adjustments to Boardwalktech to better suit your business. And I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about those results, just what we talked about. First and foremost, the SAP integration. You've got a spreadsheet where it's pulling in information from multiple instances, multiple locations, multiple global locations into one spreadsheet for all to see, or all to see that need to see it, right? If you don't need to see those rows, of course, like we said, the visibility can be hidden. But grabbing that information in one spreadsheet with the click of a button. Very nice. No more lookup tables. Very cool. Again, the global visibility, great to have access to what I need to see and not see what I don't need to see. Focus on what needs to be on my plate. You've got that control and that visibility in the tool. And then the near real-time collaboration. As I was showing you, whenever I submit those changes, whenever I put that information in, all I have to do is submit it, get it out there, and it'll be on the from an administrative perspective, out to the sales associates in near real time, and whenever those sales associates are submitting their changes, I as a manager can see that information with a simple refresh or download. So I think that just about does it for me talking about these customizations. I will stay on for any questions at the end if I can help it in any way, but I'll send it back over to Vivek for a demo and some more information. Vivek?
Hey, thanks, Justin. Thanks for a very interesting and insightful presentation. So with that, let us now quickly shift gears. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move into the demo section of our presentation today. So let me quickly whip up what we call the designer framework. So what I'm showing here on my screen is the designer framework. This typically works in two modes. One is the design mode. The second one is the user mode. For the first half of my demo today, I will be primarily mapping some sample Excel process, and I'll show you how quickly you can build an application on Boardwalk. And I will be using the design framework. Then I will move to the user mode in the template, and then we can show how, from an end user perspective, we go about leveraging any template in Boardwalk. So what I have done for this session today is I have created one sample model of unit sales forecasting. Now, as I was mentioning earlier, this can be any model. It can be a financial model. It can be an human resource related Excel spreadsheet, or in this case, it is a demand forecasting model. So let me go ahead and select this model for you. So I select this range, and I come to my universal template. Now in universal template, what I'm going to do is I'm clicking on the add new tab. I'm going to create a new cuboid, which is a table in Boardwalk. So I'm going to click on standard cuboid here. Now once I do that, you see that a new sheet has been added. I'm going to copy paste this information from my existing model into the newly created sheet. Now in absence, so one point which I want you to really understand is that if you have an existing model and you want to use it as is, we can take or digest that model as is. In case you do not have a model, in that case, our project team can work with you to create this model. And once it is created, all I need to do is now come here and click on this link export button. So what it is going to do is that right now this is just a disconnected sheet in my Excel spreadsheet. I'm going to link it to a Boardwalk database in the backend. So once I click OK, it brings up the browser interface for the Boardwalk database. So you see that there are certain terminologies being used, for example, neighborhood, collaboration. So for the purpose of the demo, think of these just as a grouping mechanism. So these are like a groups where I'm going to build this particular or create this table. So I'm going to use the collaboration unit forecasting. And within the unit forecasting, there are certain whiteboards. Think of these whiteboards as a folder within which I'm going to create the table. So I'm going to choose the forecast data whiteboard, and I'm going to hit on this new table. I'm going to call this, say, for example, the IT opportunity table, and I'm going to hit create, and I click OK. Once I click OK, what it has done is that it has created a mapping between this spreadsheet and the Boardwalk database. And as you can see, it has also added a unique row ID for each of the row which is existing in my template. Say, for example, if I also click on any column, you see that it has a unique column ID as well. For example, this column is 10,709. If I click on any other column, it will have, say, some other column ID. So Boardwalk assigns a unique row ID and a column ID, and the intersection of row ID and column ID becomes a cell ID. And that is how we are able to uniquely identify any updates which is happening at cell level. So right now what I have done is I have created a mapping between the Excel spreadsheet which I just had and the Boardwalk database. Now I also want to do some formatting, etc. So let me go ahead and I will leverage the format which I created here. So I'm going to just select this range and copy this format. I come to my newly created spreadsheet and I'm copying this format here. Once I have copied this format, all I need to do is click on few additional buttons. For example, I come to the generate format button here. It gives me several options. For example, I'm going to select the SKU format. And the reason I'm selecting the SKU format is because, as Justin was explaining many times in many of our models, there is a set of rows associated with this format. So I'm going to click on SKU format. So it has generated this format. Now let me go ahead and assign this format. Now, so this format has been assigned. Now let me quickly go and do some additional formatting. For example, I do not want end users to see the Boardwalk ID, so I'm going to hide it. I'm also going to change some of the column width so that it becomes more readable, the data in the template. So I'm just adjusting some of the column width, etc. I do not want the users to see, for example, the sales price of the item or the closing date. So I'm hiding these. Let me reduce the column width here, and let me make the column width for the date format a little more uniform. So I'm changing these. In addition to that, I do not want people to, say, for example, be able to edit this section of the data because these are historical data. So I can let me go ahead and unprotect this sheet. And I'm going to mark these cells as protected. So I'm going to log these. So with this, my formatting is complete. So I go back to my universal template. I go back to the newly created IT opportunity sheet. And all I'm going to do now is hit the test format here. Once I hit the test format, you see that the format which I had just created got universally applied to the entire sheet in my template. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to enable certain pre-built APIs. So for that, I'm going to go back to the universal template, clicking on more options, and I'm going to attach certain macros which are pre-built in Boardwalk. So if I go ahead and do that, now say for example, if I go and click this refresh button, you will see that my login credentials and the date and timestamp when I am pulling the information, all this gets captured. What I also want to do is maybe I want to label this template as, give it a name. So I'm going to call this sheet the sales unit forecasting sheet. So just to take a quick step back and explain what I have done so far. So I created one model. That model was not linked to the Boardwalk database. So I created a link between this particular sheet and a table in Boardwalk. In addition to that, I also applied the formatting. I enabled certain APIs. Now what I'm going to do is quickly show you some kind of access control which I'm going to apply on this particular sheet. So I come back to my universal template here. I come to the add new tab here. Last time, if you recall, I hit on the standard cuboid. This time, because I'm going to create access control table, I'm hitting on this user access button here. Once I do that, just like the last time, it added a new sheet. Let me go ahead and add certain roles here. For example, I'm going to add an admin role, an account manager role, and say a ref1 role. And just like the last time, I'm going to hit on the link export button here. And once I do that, it will bring up the browser interface for connecting to the Boardwalk database. I click on the collaboration unit forecasting. And this time, I'm going to choose the whiteboard access control because I'm defining or creating this table for managing the access for my process. And I create and hit on this new table. I'm going to call it, say, for example, access control table. I hit create and I click OK. Now, just like the last time now, you see that it has created or linked this particular sheet to a Boardwalk database in the backend. It has added, say, for example, the unique row IDs here. It has added the column IDs, etc. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, so if you look at my transaction sheet here, there is a column called sales rep, and I'm going to use this column as a filtering column to bring in data for different roles. Say, for example, what I'm going to say that when rep 1 logs in, the rep 1 should only see those records where the value in this column is rep 1. So for that, all I need to do is I come to the metadata sitemap. I'm going to bring from the IT opportunity sheet one column called the sales rep column, and I'm going to add it as a criteria column. So this is going to become an access control criteria for my QBoard which I have just created. And what I'm doing is I'm saying, hey, for the user rep 1, bring in only those records where the value is rep 1 in the IT opportunity sheet. So with this done, let me go ahead and submit this. So what I have done now is I have created this access control table. I have defined what access control I want. If you see, I have not defined any access control for the account manager. So the account manager will be able to see not only rep 1 records, but also other reps, for example, rep 2, 3, and 4. Now, once I have done this, the only thing which is remaining to be done to complete my access control mapping is come to my IT opportunity sheet one more time. I come to more options, and I'm going to tell the system that use this newly created access control table as the table for managing the data flow. So I'm going to click OK. So with this mapping is done. Now within 10-12 minutes, I have created this process. I have done the formatting. I have defined the access control without doing a single line of code. Now this is extremely powerful. So with this, what I'm done with my admin aspect of the demo. So let me go ahead and save this file. So I'm going to call this file, say, for example, the admin template. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to now share this file with the end user. So I'm also going to save this as, say, for example, master user file. And before I share it with end users, say, for example, I need to do some cleaning work. For example, I do not want users to have access to this access control sheet here. So let me go ahead and unlink this. So I'm doing all these activities just to ensure that the user gets to see only what is required for him or her. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the mode. So far I have been working in the design mode. So I'm going to change this mode to the user mode now. And I'm coming to this welcome page, and I'm going to clear this template so that any remnants from the admin work which I did, now it's all cleared. So this sheet is now ready to be shared with the end user. Now typically in any project or any process, what you will do is you will either upload this master template on some company portal, or upload it in some SharePoint folder, or even email this file to end users from where they can have access to this. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to switch roles, and I'm going to now download this template using some of the roles which I created during our demo right now. So I'm going to click on this download template button. Once I hit this button, it will do some system prerequisite check on my machine. For example, it looks for internet connectivity. It looks for certain office libraries which need to be present. It is telling me that I'm good to download. So I come here. So let me now go ahead and download this using one of the user I created, say for example rep1. And if you recall, when I created this user, I had defined the access criteria such that the user rep1 should only see those records where in the sales rep column the value was rep1. So right now, as I hit OK, it is going to the Boardwalk database. It is fetching the record based on my access control from the database into my template. And in this particular demo, only one sheet has come. Depending on your process, multiple sheets can come in an user template. So you see that I have successfully downloaded the template. Here you see that my access control worked fine because all the records which are coming in the rep1 role only belong to rep1. So let me save this file, for example, as rep1. And what I'm going to do is I'm also now going to download one more time. And I'm going to download this time using another role which I created, which was the account manager role, if you recall, the AM role. And in the account manager, because I have not given any access control, so the account manager will have access not only to rep1 data, but also rep2 data, which the rep1 did not have. So now you see that the account manager template is getting downloaded. And this is the account manager template. In the account manager template, not only rep1 records are there, but rep2 records are there as well. So now let me go ahead and show you some of the collaborative aspects of our technology. So for example, let me close this sheet because I no longer need this. So I'm going back to the rep1 role here. For example, let me go ahead and edit. So say for example, if I want to edit certain section of the template, I'm not able to do that. All those checks and balances are in place right now. However, if I come here for January, I'm going to say, hey, it's almost the third week of Jan. I may not be able to meet my number. So I'm going to change it from 450 to 469 to 450. I'm changing the pricing information from, say, 15 to 13. And you are seeing that other aspects of Excel where this is a formula, all those are automatically getting changed. So as I'm making these edits, as Justine was mentioning, I will be in a totally offline mode. I need not be connected to the internet. And once I have made this change, at that point in time, I only need the internet connectivity back. I come here, I hit the submit button. Once I hit the submit button, I can enter certain comments. I can say, these are my Jan forecast. And I click OK. Now, so just to highlight what I have done is I have edited the quantity information and the pricing information for Jan 16. I changed it to 450 and 13. Now, if I go back to the other user, which is the account manager role here, you see that in the account manager role, the value is still showing a little dated. It's still showing 519 and 15 because the account manager has not yet refreshed the template. So let me go ahead and before I refresh, let me say, for example, update this to 600, this value to say 650. And let me go now and hit the refresh button. Now, as I hit refresh, the changes from the different users and different system will flow into my template. You see that out of hundreds of cells in my template, only these two cells are highlighted because these two cells are the one which got changed since the last time I downloaded or refreshed my template. So if I do a quick mouse over here, it is telling me that the value of this cell has changed from 519 to 450. The value of this particular cell changed from 15 to 13. While my unsaved changes you see are not lost. And this is one of the key differentiators between Boardwalk. Because we are a cell version database, we only update those cells which have been updated by different users. If you have updated different cells and those cells have not been changed, those won't get overwritten. So now I, as an account manager, I do not agree with this forecast. I think it's a little too low. So I'm going to increase this to 475. And I have already made changes here for some of these forecast numbers for February and March. So now let me go ahead and quickly submit my changes. So I'm going to say these are my reviewed numbers. Let me go ahead and click OK. So what I have done is now I have submitted my changes. I, as account manager, I looked at my reps number. Some of them I did not agree with, so I reviewed them. I changed them, and I added my own numbers to this. Now let me quickly go back to the rep template. Now I'm again back in the rep template. In the rep template, you see that these values are still dated because the rep has not yet refreshed his or her template. So let me go ahead and hit refresh. Now once I hit refresh, you see that the updates which were done by the account manager has again seamlessly they have flown into my template. These values are now changed as per the latest change. Now, another dimension of our product I quickly wanted to cover was, say, for example, this cell history feature. So if I click on any cell and I click on this cell history button, I can choose how far back in time I want to go. For example, I can go a week, a month, a quarter. So let me choose a week, and when I click OK, you see that the value of these cells, as it has evolved over a period of time. The initial value was 519. It was entered by the admin. It then got changed to 450 by the rep 1, and subsequently to 475 by the account manager. And these are the comments which the account manager entered. So with this, I have concluded the demo section of my presentation. And let me quickly go back to the other aspects of my presentation which I wanted to cover before we dive into the Q&A. So as we were mentioning, Boardwalk is absolutely agnostic to your process model, industry, or vertical. Now, these are some of the applications which we have developed in the areas of sales value chain. This is just to give you a flavor of, the different work which gets done leveraging our technology. Now, these are some of the applications which we have developed using, in the areas of operations value chain. Now, this is a typical use case where, say, for example, whenever customers implement our product or our platform, there are certain benefits which we see accrue to them. For example, this is a sample case where one of the customers indicated these as what you are seeing in the bullet points here are some of the KPIs they had identified for the project, and what you are seeing in red are the actual numbers reported by the customer. Now, these are very indicative numbers, irrespective of whatever process industry you are in. So for example, we are typically able to reduce your cycle time by more than half, improving your data accuracy by more than 90%. Your review effort reduces to somewhere around 78%, and there is a lot of standardization in the template which happens when you leverage our technology. Now, Boardwalk typically we have a server licensing model, and I've captured some of the highlights of our model. We typically do not cost our product based on the number of users. We allow unlimited users and unlimited process to be developed on our application once you buy the Boardwalk application engine. We provide services like hosting. However, if you choose to host it within your firewall, you can do that as well. And of course, we also many times train our end customers on developing this product and processes themselves on by their own team. However, we do have a professional services team which can build these applications for you. And these are some of our consulting partners. We also have regional partners, and as I was mentioning, we have our own team to develop these applications for you. So with this, I have concluded what I wanted to cover in our session today, and I will hand over the platform to Heather to see what questions she has. And before I hand it over, I just quickly wanted to cover a little bit on the Boardwalk Sheets. This is our other offering which allows you to experience our technology in an ad hoc manner. It does not have the integration piece, the access control piece, or the process workflow piece, but you can experience the technology. And if you are interested, you can go to the link which I'm showing in my screen here and download it and register and start using our product. So with this, Heather, let me know if you have any questions for me or Justin.
Perfect, thank you. So we do have questions for both Vivek and Justin, and if we do not get to your questions by the end of the webinar, I will be sure to email you the answer afterwards. So the first question is for Vivek. Access control would be nice for us. Can our program managers only have access to read-only versions of the workbook and not be able to enter any data? We have about 50 program managers.
Yeah, absolutely. So, different granularity of access control is one of the strengths of Boardwalk. And as you are mentioning in the question, you can absolutely have certain roles or certain users who can only view the data or read only data, while other users can have editing capabilities. And it can either be at sheet level, the access control, it can be at column level, it can be at row level. So absolutely, the answer is yes. You can have roles who can only view the information and not update it.
Okay, great. The next question is actually for Justin. How was the field sales reps experience in regards to ease of use when using Boardwalk?
Great question. It was a very fast uptake by all sales associates involved. I think the only problem I had was a fellow in Italy who just had a rough time keeping his internet connection whenever he'd try and download data. But in all seriousness, it's a very easy task. We had a simple training process where it was just telling the guys, type in your quantities, type in your values, and submit. I mean, that was it. They got it. They got it and they understood it. And as far as questions that came back to me from a usability perspective, none. There were none. They got it. They submitted their data. They'd update their data. The following quarter, the following cycle, they'd download their most recent information from the system, from the servers, and hit the ground running. Very, very quick, very fast, very seamless.
Great, perfect. Another question for you, Justin. How easy was it to change and improve the process after going live?
Very simple. It was, simple from a design perspective and implementation perspective. A little more involved with dealing with the business because they always want something different from the other guys. But that's one of the trials and tribulations of dealing with two separate divisions. But once we actually got them to agree on the aspect of that 9-row architecture for our phase 2 rollout, which I showed you here today, it was very easy. Very easy. We worked with the Boardwalktech development team. As Vivek said, you can develop it yourself. You can work with the team. We chose to work with the team, right? Get the experts to do it for us, and we had them implement that and roll out phase 2 very seamlessly. I think we dropped phase 1 at the end of October, and on the November 1 we kicked off with the new version right after, or no, I'm sorry, December 1. It was right after Thanksgiving. Yeah, so it was after the long weekend. We dropped the new version, and everybody hit the ground running on December 1st.
Okay, great. And this question is for Vivek. Does Boardwalk capture audit trails for compliance reasons?
Yes, absolutely. So as I demoed in just a while ago, we have this ability to at the cell level capture all the updates which are being done either by different users or even by different applications. So for example, many of our clients leverage our cell history, row history, table history feature, which captures not only the value which is being edited, but also who is editing this value and when it is being edited. So for example, the date and timestamp along with the transaction comments. And this is becoming extremely relevant in many of the compliance industry, governance, risk industry, financial services industries, etc.
Okay, great. Another one for you, Vivek. We do have issues with version control when using Excel, and I really think the Boardwalk App Engine would be something we should explore. We'd like to streamline our process, particularly the consolidation part. Can I send you a sample of what our process looks like and have you show me what it looks like to have Boardwalk in the background? And is there any cost to do that?
Absolutely. So we will encourage you to send your a sample or process Excel file, and we can, as I had showed you in the demo today, it's very easy for us because we not only use Excel as a user interface, we also use Excel as our modeling tool. So we can take your process and we can digest it very quickly in a matter of a couple of days. We can turn it around and show it to you how the process will look like in Boardwalk with your data and your configuration. So yes, we can definitely do that.
Okay, great. And there's no cost to do that, correct?
Yes, there is no cost. We can do it, just as like a, for you to free. Yes, absolutely.
Great. And this is actually a Boardwalk Sheets question. I recently downloaded Boardwalk Sheets from your website and registered. How many people can I invite to use Boardwalk Sheets with me? I do enjoy using it.
So as I was mentioning earlier, we do not put any restriction on the number of users. You can invite as many users as you want who need to participate in the process, and you are good to go. So there are no restrictions.
Okay, great. And I believe that's really all we have time for today. So like I said, if we did not get to your question, I will email you right after the webinar. And that's it on my end, Vivek.
Hey, so thank you, Heather, and thank you, Justin, as well, for co-hosting it with us today. I also want to thank all of you for attending our webinar. I hope you found it informative, and have a great day, rest of the day. Bye-bye.